I would like to introduce another Carey School alumni, Kellie Gilbert, and her Panther Points of Pride video.
Hi, I'm Kellie Gilbert. I'm broadcasting from Dallas, Texas. I'm a full-time novelist. I'm multi-published in a variety of genres, and I have had the privilege of speaking to the students at Carey High School on one occasion, and it was one of the highlights to get to sit in that gymnasium and talk to students and remember that I sat on those same bleachers many years back. My favorite time was when I was involved in the drama club there with under the direction of Ken Meekum. Those times that we put on the plays on that little stage, and I got my first taste of entertaining an audience, hearing them laugh and hearing them hearing their comments when we got done with the story. I think those were one of the first times that I decided I wanted to do that. I don't think I recognized it at the time, but certainly as I was thinking back on this question, I thought that really did motivate me to do some of what I'm doing today in writing stories for people. He asked me who my favorite teacher was, and that's a hard one because I didn't have a favorite, but I had many favorites, and Ken Meekum was definitely one of them. I will attribute much of my novelist career to Mr. Meekum. He had us read constantly, do book reports. After class, he would sit with me and we would talk about books and our favorite stories. He also is the one, of course, who directed the whole drama club and story. I just adore Ken Meekum and his wife Amy. They are such special people. I also had a teacher named John Taylor, and John was a man who headed up the office practices and taught us all to type and accounting and all that, those kind of things. But one of the things he did very special for me personally, well, actually, he took a group of us to Boise, Idaho, and we got to tour the corporate offices of Boise Cascade. And we also, he had us involved in what was at that time called Office Education Administration or Association, excuse me. It was the OEA, Office Education Association. And this was a group that had been formed to help students prepare for careers in corporate America. And John pushed me really hard to apply for a national position. And he helped me fill out all the paperwork, and he helped me to apply and go through the entire election process. And I won. I was a national officer for OEA, and that was amazing for me. I got to see and communicate with people that were in Chicago and Florida and all kinds of places, and it really opened my eyes to what was possible out there. John also helped me to apply for a scholarship, and I got a full ride scholarship for the first year to Boise State. And so he was really one who made a big difference in my life. Who were some of my friends and the people I ran around with? Well, I already told you we had a very small class, and we ran around with the kids that were older than us and younger than us. But I will tell you that my very best friend, probably in high school at least, was Lori Schaefer. We were kind of glued at the hip, and she still is a dear, dear friend. But she was one of many. I mean, I'm fortunate to have so many dear friends, and Facebook actually has let me get back in contact with many of them, and that's a real big blessing to my heart. When I was in high school, there was no Netflix or internet, no Facebook, so I was kind of laughing because I saw some of the other videos and saw that I was not the only one who entertained herself by bombing Maine, and that simply meant driving up and down the street, turning around at the corners. But mainly, what that did was we just got out and was able to see our friends and talk, and that was that was critical. None of us wanted to sit home on Friday and Saturday nights, and we danced a lot. We went to Richfield and we danced. The Vaughn boys, all of us girls like to dance with the Vaughn boys because they were really good dancers. Let's see. It says, what did you want to be when you were in high school, and what do you do now? Well, when I was in high school, I probably didn't really know what I wanted to do, but it was through John Taylor and through my senior year, I was able to intern at the Capitol building in Boise as a governor's intern, and I thought I was going to go into politics. Pete Senarusa, my dad's sheep partner, and a relative of mine was in politics, of course, and I believe that that's probably the path I was going to take. When I got there, however, I really found that I was pretty good at legal stuff. And I went to work for Jim Risch right out of college. Jim is now a senator and on the National Security Council, and Jim and Vicki were very instrumental in getting me. They actually trained me. Jim took me to my first trial, and I became a trial paralegal and investigator. I spent a number of years working for law firms in Boise. I worked for the Justice Department for 8 years. Then when I was married and we were raising our family, we moved to Portland, Oregon, and I ended up working for some of the senior partners in the largest law practice in the Pacific Northwest, Stoll Reeves. I worked for Barnes Ellis, and we did a lot of big cases. I also worked for Walt Bithell in Boise, and we did a big E. coli Jack in the Box case. I did some class action airline crash cases. I investigated the nation's largest cattle fraud case and was instrumental in putting a couple of people in federal prison for many, many years. And all of those things became fodder for my stories when I, in later years, decided to chase the dream of my heart, and that was to write novels. And so that's what I do now. I've done that. I got my first contract in 2011 with a publisher, and my first book was Mother of Pearl, and I've published many since then. Last year, I took a big jump off the cliff and started my own publishing company, and I now publish my own books, plus some books of other people. I'm a busy girl, but I've never been happier, and it really is a good thing when you can find something to do for your vocation, something you absolutely adore. And I've adored both. The legal was so interesting, and writing novels, again, just, the career of my heart. And I'm so lucky to get to do that. John asked in this question, do you feel that you were ready for your next step when you left Carey High School? And I absolutely felt like I was educationally ready. I had a really good educational foundation, and I had good teachers that were pushing me to go to college, and I think that going to college was essential for what I wanted to do, of course. I think in some ways I was not really ready, but that was a personal thing. I don't think I really thought big enough. And I would encourage, one of the things John asks is, what advice would I give to students? And I would just say, dream big. And if you think that that's big enough, go bigger. There is a wide array of things and vocations and things that you can do to make a living. And there is a huge country with all kinds of opportunities. And growing up in Carey, I think, gives us this safety and security. It's a little uncomfortable sometimes to get out of that safety zone. But I will tell you that I've taken that foundation with me wherever I went. And I would just really encourage you to dream big. That's all. Just dream big. And of course, work hard. There's nothing that, there's no shortcuts. There's no ways to circumvent getting a good education and working hard. When you think back over your years to this point in your life, what are you most proud of? I'm proud of the fact that I've been married 38 years. To the same man. He was my skydive instructor, and I like to tease that I fell for him. And we've been married 38 years. We raised 2 sons who I adore, and I have grandchildren, and my family, of course, is everything to my heart. But I'm also proud of the fact that I have been part of a community like Carey, Idaho. No one across the nation really understands, unless you grew up in that kind of community, what a huge blessing that is, and what a foundation that puts underneath of you. I learned and became who I am primarily because of the community I grew up in. And I am forever blessed to have been part of Carey, Idaho. And every chance I get, every time I'm in front of a book club or I'm speaking to an audience, I always mention Carey, Idaho, and how I grew up. It was an incredible blessing, and I'm proud and thankful for it. And on that note, I'm Kellie Coates Gilbert, and I graduated from Carey High School.